Hello YouTube. I don't really know where this video is going. I made like a goal for myself to where I was going to try and do something art related once a week and then film it for YouTube just as something fun to do. But I may not be able to do anything for next week. This isn't necessarily an apology because I'm not a professional, but I'm very excited because next week we're going to Las Vegas, and I haven't been to Las Vegas since I was like 17, maybe 18. So this is my first time going as like an adult who's allowed to get into casinos, with my own adult money. Not that I plan on gambling, but I'm just very excited to see how things have changed. So this week, I have done some art stuff. Sometimes it's really weird. Sometimes I feel like I can't do anything art related at all. And then other times I turn around and I look and it's like, oh, I guess I did do some art stuff. And I don't really know how that happened. So I've got a couple of things going on at once. I do want to point out that I did finish my one illustration that I had started in my last video. It's not my favorite, but between this illustration, and this illustration, I kind of have like a collection, like a theme of illustrations going because they're all kind of like the same colored base. So I kind of like that. I kind of like the style that this sketchbook is going in. I do still at some point want to go back and paint this illustration, but again, I feel like it's too similar to what I've already done before. So I was kind of trying to find something to upload to my portfolio that was more unique. But in any case, I'm kind of really enjoying this sketchbook. Also, since I've been so excited about my Vegas vacation, I've gone summer clothes shopping and I was really excited and I wanted to show some of the things that I got. I'm not a very fashionable person. I can't say that word, fashionable. I'm not a very fashionable person, but I'm just again excited. So I did like doodle and I posted these to my Twitter and Tumblr, I guess, my outfits that I planned on wearing. And I managed to find a romper. I have like this long torso and short legs, and I find it really hard to wear one pieces. And I've always wanted like a romper because it seemed like it was comfortable, despite everything being like one piece. And I imagine it's difficult having to use the bathroom in them. But I usually have a weird romper problem. But I did manage to find a romper, and I plan on wearing it. It is black though, and I'm wondering if it's gonna be too hot outside to wear black. But those are some of the outfits that I got. But meanwhile, for this weekend, I think I'm going to go back to my predominant sketchbook, my art journal. This is the one that I've been working on for like the past year. I'm gonna go back to this because I've been ignoring it for my other sketchbook, and I think we're gonna paint this drawing. I drew this a good chunk of time ago, and then I had some anatomy issues and I left it alone. So I started working on it again the past couple of days because I wanted something to paint this weekend really. And it kind of goes along the lines of the artwork that I did at the beginning of this journal. It'll all just match like the same theme of this journal, but we'll do this illustration. I only have a couple pages left to go in it, and I've just been procrastinating filling it up because I've been using my other sketchbook. So we'll probably have to make this a project again and start working on this again. I do have a couple of decent-ish illustrations in here as well that I've been ignoring, but I haven't hated them enough to erase them. I don't know, I was thinking about going back to this one and maybe trying to color it too, because it's really not too half bad. It's just not fabulous. But I think this one, we're just gonna do my traditional again to match the same style as these ones in here. We're just gonna do gouache, and it won't be that exciting, but that's what I want to do for this weekend, and that's what I'm going to start working on today. What I keep liking to do with these journals is I always like to make my artwork go over 2 pages, just because I think it looks nice in the journal itself. I don't think it necessarily always translates over to the internet as well, but I do, again, I just like the way that it looks. So this is going to be the primary illustration, but I'm just going to have the rest of it kind of like smoosh over to here. That way when I'm flipping through it, I think that it just looks nice. So the whole thing probably won't be on the internet, just this part. What I am still needing to do though for this one is I'm gonna outline things in like a purple. I like to do my original sketch in like red or pink, and then the finalized sketch I tend to outline in a darker color like purple or blue, just so that it makes it easier to see underneath the gouache or the watercolor so I don't lose features. However, I still need to look up reference images for, this is going to be a leopard, so I need some references for leopard spots, because I've struggled before with leopard spots. I don't really know how to place them. I much prefer, I find tiger stripes comforting, but leopard spots are a challenge to me. So I'm going to look up a reference of that. And even though I like stars, and as much as I would like to add another star in here, like another big star, like right here, instead I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring back my original character, the character that I used for years when I was a child, and I'm gonna put her here in the clouds. So he's gonna be like molding the clouds, and that'll be my little original character, just bringing her back from the dead a little bit. So that's kind of different. It's fun for me. But otherwise, again, it's going to follow the same theme as before. This is going to be a dark blue sky. I'll probably use some of the spring gouache. I'll probably use my spring gouache that I had purchased a while back. This is just the traditional Holbein gouache. And I'll probably use these two colors. I usually like to use the Suey gouache. The past other illustrations in this journal, I used the blue and the 90 traditional gouache by this Suey brand, and I love it. The nice thing about gouache is that, of course, you can reactivate it with water, so it makes for making like a gradient, for blending a gradient, a whole lot easier. But the tricky thing about it is that I do the background first, and then I do my illustration or my character second, and I do my characters in traditional watercolor. So if I get like watercolor on the gouache background, then it can kind of sort of make a mess. So that makes it tricky. I do have the acrylic gouache, which I could use as well. But I feel like acrylic gouache is more difficult to make a gradient with if I'm doing a night sky. And then, of course, that could also be fixed if I did the masking fluid on the character and then I did the acrylic gouache in just one big messy flow. But sometimes I get mad trying to use masking fluid, and sometimes the masking fluid will rip my sketch up too, and it kind of destroys my sketch, and then I lose the definition that I had. So it's kind of like a trade-off. Like, do I want to use all water-soluble mediums, or do I want to use the acrylic mediums? Do I want to use masking fluid? I think I'm just going to make life difficult on myself, and I think I'm just going to carefully paint around the character and then just use traditional gouache. I don't know. It works out in the end eventually. And if you make a mistake, I can always digitally edit it. So it'll be fine. These are just some of the thought processes that go through my head while I'm making these things. It's a mess. This little dollop right there is all that remains of this 90 Suey gouache, and I'd really like to have a replacement for it. I don't want to have to buy an entire another package of the pastel gouache to get just this one color, but rest in peace. I'd like to use you, but never mind. So now I'm going to try and figure out an alternative. I think I've done like a bunch of blue swatches here. I think I'm going to do just the Holbein acrylic gouache, the navy blue one. And then I guess we'll do my new springtime, the Dayflower, oh my gosh, the Dayflower blue, and we'll just make a gradient there. The other blues are fine. This is a watercolor gouache combo, the Shinhan Pass, and then the other Holbein one, and we'll use that to make clouds because those are a bit of lighter colors. So we'll do the clouds with those, but we'll do the night sky with a combination. My only thing with, this is just a me thing, I'm probably weird, the like primary pigments like navy blue, I'm not a big fan of how shiny those are. They're like shiny and transparent. They're not as matte. I like the flat matte look of like these colors right here. This one is kind of, yeah, it's just transparent, see more like watercolor. I know that's really weird and like backwards, but I have a hard time with those colors, but that one's not my favorite, but we're gonna do that instead to try to get this look for the background of my illustration here. This doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. It's just gonna get a bunch of star splatter anyway, and then I can do a bunch of smoothing, like I said, digitally afterwards, so that's fine. Okay, it's dried a little bit. I'm also doing laundry, so the laundry's going in the background. So it's dried. It looks a lot smoother now. And then I did like also did a little mock-up in Procreate just because in my brain I thought that I maybe wanted like purple spots, but I wasn't really sure how that was gonna look. But I think yeah, we're still gonna try and do like purple spots. It'll turn out okay. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna try and use my new Da Vinci paint, see how far that gets me. I'm gonna squeeze these into little bitty half pans and put them in here. And I might even do, I have an old Schminke Naples yellow too. I might toss that in there because it's a little bit different color than the Da Vinci Naples yellow. And we'll see. I know I miscounted my Da Vinci paints. I forgot that I had lavender, even though there's a big glob of lavender right there. So we'll just make this an entire Da Vinci palette. And done. Very pretty. Pretty colors. So normally what I do for like the yellow orange of my lions and tigers and such is I usually kind of mix colors together a little bit. So my traditional pastel palette, I've got already like kind of like a light peachy orange, and then I usually mix it with some more orangey oranges, and I haven't quite found it like a directly out of the two perfect orange color just yet. So hopefully these will be okay. So this is, again, my first time illustrating with these Da Vinci paints, and I'm still trying to figure them out. My very first impressions are like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of color coming out, because with my normal watercolor set, I feel like I have to do kind of like layers and layers, and these colors are, they seem to be very pigmented, so I'm only like lightly trying to pick up a little bit of color at a time, but at the same time I'm not really sure how they dry, so I'm kind of being a little bit hesitant at the same time. I could probably put more watercolor down, but I'm nervous just because I'm not familiar with these. But at the moment, this is like a fabulous animal set. Like these red colors and these yellow colors are very good for your cats, your big cats, your tigers, and your leopards and stuff. It's beautiful so far. I'm just trying to figure them out. I don't know if I necessarily want to use the lilac and pink for the nose. Maybe, but those are pretty much the only pink colors that I have in this set. Maybe it'll be okay. Okay, I am pulling out my normal palette for more pinks for his paws and for his nose, because I just need a little bit more definition here. And this will look more, it'll look more put together when I add white to it here in just a minute to bring some of the facial features and stuff to light. So give me just a second to get some white. Okay, here we go. Normally for eyes and for like lips on my animals, I usually use the charcoal black from the Prima Marketing like vintage pastel set. I think it's from the vintage pastel set. But usually I use that one in a really tiny brush, but I think instead I'm trying to use this Kuretake brand ink pen, and I'm just very, very carefully adding his lips and eyeballs. I'm still trying to debate what color I want to do the spots. So I was thinking I kind of wanted to do like a purple tone. So I have the Art Nouveau paints. It's a pretty purple, but this one I wanted to keep on theme with the Da Vinci palette. It kind of has like a purpley, like dark shadowy color. So maybe I'll just kind of do both. Maybe I'll do, I pulled up my reference because the spots sort of kind of a little bit got lost in the painting. So I'm trying to figure out where I want my spots to go. Take that color away. So this is the scary part. Spots scare me, but we'll figure it out. I think I'm gonna do like light purple first, and then we'll kind of do this darker color to enhance. That's what I'm thinking. My spots might have ended up a little bit messy, but you know, it is what it is. I still have a lot to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rush through a lot of this. I'm going to start outlining this guy in colored pencil and marker, and then I'm going to go back to the clouds to add more emphasis that they're white fluffy clouds, and then we'll just end up seeing what it looks like at the end. Okay, so I had hoped to have had this video like finished and uploaded before the weekend ended, but that didn't quite happen. I ran into some anatomy issues that I was trying to fix, and yeah, so that took a lot of back and forth. However, I think this is about as good as I can successfully make it. When I scan this in, I'm gonna go back in and digitally add in whiskers, and that'll make him look a little bit more cat-like. So, but otherwise, I thought this Da Vinci palette was a pretty good palette for big cats. I actually used, did I use the entire thing? I used a little bit of the blues. I didn't use any greens, but I think I almost used just about everything else, including the Titan buff. I used that a little bit on his white parts, and then I used these grayish bluish colors for his spots. Oh, I did use a little bit of blue for his eyes too. So I thought that actually came out pretty good. I rather like this little bitty palette. I still had to go back to my old pastel palette a couple of times for some things, but otherwise it was majority of the watercolor was the Da Vinci. So I really liked it. Anyway, this is for the most part gonna be my finished image, and we'll get this digitally scanned in and uploaded to the internet. But I think that's all that I have for right now. So until next time, like I said, my next video will probably be me in Vegas. I have no idea if there will be anything art related in there or not, but that's where I will be. And then otherwise I'll see you guys like on Twitter. So thank you again so much for watching. Bye now.